Autistic people are more likely to be LGBTQIA+. But why is this?
Important distinction here. She said that autistic people are more likely to be LGBT, not LGBT people are more likely to be autistic. What came first, the chicken or the egg? The tistic or the trans? Did she just say the silent part out loud and admit that people are thinking that they're trans or queer or non-binary or something because they have autism? Welcome to another psychological deep dive. I have been researching this for quite a while, the better part of the last 5-6 years, and I have come to the conclusion that there are 5 main reasons why people like this, people that are autistic, are easily targeted by the queer activist movement. And this is coming from a lesbian, okay? Keep that in mind. First of all, there is a very, very major difference between being LGBT and having a mental illness and having a mental illness that makes you think you're LGBT. I'm the former. I have an anxiety disorder. That rhymed. Hire me for your next rap project. Number 1, the odd man, the odd woman, the odd them out.
What's your favorite color? What's your favorite film? I not only take things literally, I think it might be a fundamental misunderstanding of what that question is.
Queer actually did used to mean weird. Remember, this was only maybe 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and nobody likes to be the weird one. Keep that in mind as I continue the video. Now queer means fun, loving, amazing, inclusive, progressive.
Hi, I'm Ez, and this is day 2 of celebrating queer joy, and today I'm going to talk about pronouns.
Queer joy, trans joy. Look how happy we are with being different. I don't know why I talk like that, but it kind of makes sense. And look, I won't bother or burden these people with my weirdness. They accept me. They will celebrate me for it.
I will tell you what you are not. A burden.
Maybe this is the answer to all my weirdness, being LGBT. Even though I'm not same-sex attracted and I don't have gender dysphoria. But look how much fun they're having. It seems to all be so full of love.
Queer zijn is gewoon leuk en spannend. En ingewikkeld. En echt. En liefdevol. En alles.
This leads us into the second point. People who have autism are super specific and they usually obsess over one specific thing. They have very strong areas of interest. I knew a guy in college that was obsessed with the New York City transit system. He literally had an entire YouTube channel dedicated to filming every single train ride, every single subway stop. He knew everything about the trains. He was autistic. And keep this in mind, how much fun would it be to dive deeper into yourself? Or so they think, except you're actually not diving deeper into yourself because you're not LGBT.
There's a joy for queer people. It's not just coming out, it's how much gayer you get day by day. You just get gayer and more queer. Like you feel your power grow.
Gender ideology goes deep. It is so specific. They have a new gender every day. They have new pronouns by the hour. And if you misgender somebody at 6 p.m., you've enacted violence upon them. Imagine having that kind of power and not knowing who you are and feeling like you are finally in control of yourself. It all makes sense. Number 3 is lack of social awareness.
If you're friends with an autistic person, please, please, please just say what you mean and mean what you say. I don't think people realize how traumatizing it is for people to constantly hear, oh, I know I said this, but I actually meant this.
Autistic people generally have a difficult time reading social cues or understanding social cues, reading between the lines. I might be queer. Even though they have no actual definition of what the word queer even means. The words are changing, the community is no longer gatekeeping, and the kids are in trouble.
I keep explaining to people what it means for me to be autistic and how my brain works and how social cues are such a struggle for me, how social norms are such a struggle for me, and people turn around and they punish me for those things. Every single person's social cues and every single person's social norms are different. And I can't keep up with it. I've tried to study myself out of autism and I just can't. I don't even know how to explain being autistic to people.
Here's the sad part about all of this. Even with all of the gaslighting, all of the, we love you, we love that you're different, don't ever change, we will validate your every move. Do you think in the end that anyone actually wants to be different? They say they do, but the truth is they don't. If they did, why do they all wind up looking, dressing, acting, thinking the same way? Listen, it is not easy being a leader. It is not easy taking the brunt of bullshit because you are the only one speaking out against the crazy shit. And the truth is, not everyone is cut out for it. So think about this. Now we have people who are odd, who are obsessed with their oddness, lack of social awareness, and that brings us to number 4, depression. Of course, somebody with a furry as their profile picture messaged me on X and said, "Hi, I'm autistic and would love to hear you try to explain to me how the relationship between transness and autism is bad. Autism affects how I experience consciousness and existence. How could it not impact how I integrate with my own body and experience being in my own body?" You are probably, most likely, definitely, not LGBT. You are not living your authentic life. That's why this is bad. You are being brainwashed into thinking you're being saved when the truth is you're actually in hell. For me, just so people know, hell is not knowing who you are. Hell is in this realm of not knowing who you are, okay? Being in your brain and your body, your soul, not knowing your truth. Hell is fixating on the woke agenda and what they tell you to do and how they tell you to be. And there's even research to back this up. Check this out. There's a new study that woke attitudes linked to anxiety and depressions and a lack of happiness. I'm not surprised. Not in the slightest, actually. You guys already know I found this on my favorite news app, Ground News. Let's just read their summary on this, shall we? They say, mental health professionals that understand systemic issues can foster empowerment and community support, while the right says, these individuals, the ones that participated in the survey, reportedly suffered higher levels of mental health issues compared to non-woke individuals. And of course, the majority of this study's coverage was coming from the right. Who would have guessed? The reason I keep working with Ground News, and yes, they are sponsoring this video, is because I really do believe in their mission. They show us what mainstream media won't with complete transparency. Ground News lets us see every single side of the story. There's usually more than one. It's not just left and right. It's usually somewhere in the middle. And honestly, it's also super helpful to see how other people think from the other side or another side. And it really takes the stress out of trying to navigate this extremely polarized society. If you are sick and tired of hearing about the Democrats or hearing about the woke progressives, you can actually make a custom feed for yourself. Do you only want to read about the economy? Do you only want to see LGBT issues or feminism or anti-feminism? You can add all of those things that you care about. That way, the things that you don't care about aren't being flooded into your feed. I use Ground News to stay up to date with the news, and I really do think you guys will love them. Go and support companies that support this channel and our morals. You can go to ground.news/Ariel for 40% off the same plan I use, which is their unlimited access Vantage plan. And now back to the tism.
In a way that makes that clear, because I keep thinking that I'm doing good, and I keep explaining to people how my brain works. I keep explaining to people how I need direct and honest communication, that I can't have inferred directions or any of that stuff because I won't get it. And I'm tired of just not feeling good enough. I'm trying so hard. I'm trying so hard. I'm trying so hard. I'm trying so hard.
Imagine just for a second that you really do believe that you are doing good, because I know these people do think that way, because I used to be one of them. Kind of, not to that degree. That everybody in your community is affirming what you believe and what you do, and you're still miserable. What happened to the queer joy that we were just talking about 10 seconds ago? Maybe, just maybe, when you grow into something that you're not, it sucks.
You just get gayer and more queer. Like, you feel your power grow.
But remember, you are in this community now. You have to stand by what they say, no matter if you believe it or not. If not, you will be outcast, bigoted, canceled, transphobic, deemed transphobic. And then you'll be miserable and have no friends and have no community. Which brings me to number 5, which brings me back to number 1, because it's a full circle in this case. Being the odd man, odd women, odd them, out. Thus making it even more easy for a cult or a group or a pyramid of oppression Olympics to take advantage of you.
If you are sad, it's okay. If you are stressed, if you're anxious, it's okay. We all learned not to burden anybody, not to share what we're going through. Within this little square, this little video, I want you to have some space to have your experience. The last few years have been hard, and that's okay. I'll give you some silence to be in a safe spot.
Now, not only are you woke, depressed, anxious, feeling alone, and you're not even your true self. Back to the woke survey for a second. The pilot survey included 851 adult participants, most of which who were associated with the University of Turku. After refining the initial scale, the study was expanded to a more representative national sample of 5,000 participants. Oh, it's in Finland. Okay, so according to Finland's largest newspaper. In the end, their final critical social justice attitude scale identified 7 truisms of woke people. Here they are. Ready for this? We all knew this already. If white people on average have a higher income level than black people, it is because of racism. Oh, that's not true. University reading lists should include fewer white or European authors. Microaggressions should be challenged often and actively. Trans women who compete with women in women's sports are not helping women's rights, which was reversed scored, of course. We don't need to talk about the color of people's skin. I agree, but of course they don't. A white person cannot understand how a black person feels equally as another black person. Kind of true. A member of a privileged group can adopt features or cultural elements of a less privileged group. Reverse scored, of course, because they would call that a cultural appropriation or some shit. The gender divide was probably most surprising to me. 3 out of 5 women view woke ideas positively, but only 1 out of 7 men. Watch this video that I'm going to link up here and down below that I explain why women are more susceptible to these cult-like behaviors and are more likely to be indoctrinated by such. However, the most concerning finding was the relationship between mental health and agreement with the scale. Specifically, researchers found a high prevalence of anxiety and depression in people who believed the statement, if white people have on average a higher income than black people, it is because of racism. More broadly, they found that those who identified, here's the most important part, who identified as left-wing were more likely to suffer bad mental health. Think about it. If you, and I've spoken about this in videos before, right? If you believe that all of your shortcomings, that every reason you are not where you want to be in life is because of your gender identity, your sex, your race, the fact that you're able-bodied or not. I mean, that's kind of true in some cases. You're not going to be an Olympic athlete necessarily for track if you can't walk. Wouldn't that be a miserable way to live your life? Especially since 99% of the time it's not true for these specific type of people that I'm talking about.
As a lot of y'all know, I was forced to quit my job a couple of weeks ago due to severe transphobia and ableism, including being physically threatened.
First of all, forced to quit is an oxymoron. No one forces you to quit. It is your own free will to do so. In my opinion, this all comes down to rejection. People being afraid of being rejected for who they are, and interestingly enough, who they're not. And both suck. And now you are in a whirlwind of confusion, and who comes to save you? This person.
Of course you're afraid of rejection. Me too. I remember being in 3rd grade-ish and just playing every recess on the playground just by myself. Just being a rainbow child, just, you know, taking care of myself, by myself. And here's something I want you to keep in mind around rejection. You might have bad boundaries. You might be so afraid of rejection that you tolerate behavior from any and everyone that you ought not to tolerate, just because you're afraid of being rejected by them.
Interestingly enough, Jeffrey, in this one instance, I think is correct. Stop being afraid of being rejected. Stop being afraid of being hurt. Don't worry about what that side thinks, what this side thinks. Usually the truth is somewhere in the middle. And that's a perfect re-segue into thanking our video's sponsor today, Ground News. Go and check them out if you haven't already. They're amazing. Link in the description for 40% off. Let me know what you guys think about autism and the LGBT community. Other than that, I will see you guys back here on Sunday with a brand new video. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Until then, I love you, love yourselves. Keep calling out the bullshit.